checked out reviews from multiple consultants that were available, and you sort of checked all my requirements, and I got in touch with you, and the journey so far has been wonderful.
So maybe we can just begin by you telling us where you were from a professional backdrop and why you even started considering an MBA.
Well, honestly, this MBA journey for me started way back in 2018. That was the first time I gave my GMAT. So I was working in the blockchain COE team, which is Center of Excellence team, wherein we focused on creating prototypes based on blockchain. You know, it was a very, very niche sort of a team wherein we had to work basically cross-functionally. There was sales, you were designing products, you were doing the development. So that sort of got me really interested in the product management side of things. And I already understood the development of a product from a technical perspective, but I also wanted to learn more about looking at it from a commercial standpoint, you know, the whole picture. And to become a product manager, I figured that, well, all I need is a bit of hard work also and education. I understood early on that there was a skill gap, you know, where I am and where I wanted to reach, and MBA would be the perfect thing that could help me, scale that difference. So I started with the GMAT process, and the first time I gave the exam, I got a score of 660, and then COVID happened. So I kind of kept my plans for going for an MBA on pause. Good thing I did that. Once COVID sort of cleared up and things started, looking good globally, I figured, why not give it again? Why not? I ultimately wanted to do that, get into product management and get an MBA. So I joined your team, which is Crackverbal, for GMAT preparation. Not gonna lie, I prepared really hard, worked my butt off, pardon my words, for the 2 months. But then because of work and a lot of things were happening in personal life, I sort of took a break for 2 months again. So it was like, you're working really hard for 2 months and then you took a break. Should not take a break. You should just give the exam when you're really full prepared. That was my mistake. But the good thing is, the first time I gave the exam, I scored really low on verbal and I scored great on quant. This time my focus was, I have to crack the verbal part. And I did. I scored badly in quant because I did not remember the formulas when I gave the exam. I'm not gonna lie, it was horrible. But verbal, I kind of aced it, which was good, which was sort of, felt like a personal achievement of mine. So after that, I decided, okay, I even spoke to you a couple of times that I have 660. It's a really low score. This is not what I wanted. This is not what represents me. But I had very little time. So we figured, okay, fine, this is just one part of the application. Let's focus on others. And that's where we started, we started building up the applications and then the essays. I had this wonderful mentor, Shreyas. He helped me out amazingly well. He sort of, having conversations with him really helped me. The best part about speaking to you guys was you forced me to think more, which is not fun, let me tell you that, but it actually helps you get that story across, right? A lot of introspection, what do you want to say and how do you say it? And slowly and steadily, I think the entire picture sort of became more clearer, started applying to schools, applied to 2 schools in round 1, got a decent result, and then applied to more schools in round 2. Finally got Foster, which I wanted to.
You were from a very overrepresented group, right? Which is a software professional, an engineer, Indian who's applying to these schools. So how did you, differentiate yourself, or how did you even approach this problem and how could you, show people that, I am somebody else apart from just being my credentials?
Honestly, the first time I started this application journey, all I was hearing from was, you belong to an overrepresented pool. And it's not a very happy thing to hear. It sort of demotivates you, like, oh no, this is not what I wanted to hear. But it forces you, like I said, it forces you to think out of the box. It forces you to understand who you are and what makes you unique. I don't know what makes me unique. I don't have like a solid answer for you. But what I know is, in the application round, in the applications and in the essays, all I focused on was telling my story. What additional things I did apart from being just a developer, being just someone who codes, not just the software side of it. And I did have a lot of examples. All I need to do was think again, think over the stories, think over situations where I actually did more than just being a coder. And I think those situations really helped me out. That sort of made me realize that I did have a bit of leadership qualities, which I didn't realize so far. And I can use those situations and stories to build my story up. So I think that sort of set me up a lot of thinking. Picking up stories, picking up situations, figuring out what you did apart, sort of thinking out of the box. That's pretty much it.
So you applied to UC Davis, you applied to Babson, Emory, Kelly, and Foster, right? So you applied to all of these schools, and like you said, you applied between round 1 and round 2 and things like that. So one is, how do you choose schools, right? And I also know that I remember reading your essays and all of those things, and I remember you mentioning a lot of people you had spoken to in all of these schools.
Yeah.
So how was that research, and how would you advise people to sort of do that research, and what is the importance of having these conversations with maybe current students?
I cannot emphasize enough on the importance of speaking to current students and speaking to alums from the school. You get to understand the school on a very different level. What you find on Google is not enough. You really need to know whether what you want and what the school provides match. It has to be a perfect fit. And like you said, speaking to current students really helped me figure those things out. You have obvious factors, right? Obviously, you have a profile. Your score is this much. You have this. You belong to an overrepresented group. Or whatever you have. You have points in your profile, and you sort of match it to the school. You don't want to be super ignoring. Okay, you're applying to a top school, and you don't even you sort of understand where you lie. You have your dream schools, you have your top schools, so that sort of things. But apart from those, it really is important to understand what the school provides you, what the sort of culture is there, and your regular factors like recruitments, the way that they teach you, all those stuff. I can't think of it right now. I'm so sorry. It's just been a month, but it feels like an year. Like it's been years since I left this applications. But yeah, apart from those just general factors that you need to choose a school on, you also need to figure out if it's a good fit for you, what their qualities are, like what they sponsor, and is this something that relates to you? I think that was MBA, so that was also a big part of my decision of finding schools. I was going through a lot of self-doubt also, whether I deserve those schools, whether I am capable of getting into those schools. And I think speaking to students who actually have been through, it makes you realize that every single person, no matter what their qualifications are, no matter what their scores are, they go through the same process. They're as clueless as you are. They're as, clueless in the way of how you go through that journey. And that sort of made me feel a bit more relaxed. Okay, I'm not the only one out there. They did it, so definitely I can do that if I put in enough efforts and make sure that I'm doing everything that I can. So that sort of also helped me a lot. Speaking to current students definitely it does help, for sure.
And the other thing was, you basically spoke about wanting to become a product manager, right? So mostly, and that sort of is your goal post MBA. I'm assuming it remains the same. But in this climate, when you talk about product managers, and you must have seen all the things that are happening today in the world, in the tech space. So has that been playing in your mind, and how important it is sometimes to have an alternate plan in place as well?
It's definitely been playing on my mind. Speaking to alums, speaking to people who are there, who have been through this journey, one of the questions that I always ask them is the current volatile environment that IT sector is in. And obviously, you also need to have a plan B. Even when you wrote essays, there were a lot of times when school specifically and explicitly asked you whether you have a plan B, and it also comes up in your interview. So you definitely need to have a proper understanding of where you want to go, have a clear understanding of what sort of, not just industry-wise, which companies, what sort of role, the more clearer it is, the more better it is for you. Not just to ace the interviews, but also from your own self, for your own self, what you want to do in the future. If A does not work, plan B should be there. So I think throughout the journey, obviously that introspection kept on going, and I do have a plan B, obviously. So that's sort of that talking to current students really does help in that phase also, in understanding what is needed and what is not in the current, like I said, the volatile environment that we are in at the moment. So
I think you had interviews from, I think, UC Davis, Babson, and Foster.
yeah.
So which was already great news, but like, how did you approach this whole interview process? How did you prep for these interviews, and how did the actual interviews go?
So interview process for me was fun. I genuinely enjoyed it. It was nerve-wracking, I have to admit that, but it was fun. So obviously you guys shared a list of questions, like the obvious questions that you have. I Googled them, had a proper list of questions, went through them, tried to, like I said, I figured out stories from my life, which I could use in various questions, right? And after preparing, I remember we had our first mock interview. That also gave me a bit of push. Okay, I'm not as bad as I thought I would be. So I think from there on, it has always been an improvement in all the interviews that I did give. So Foster was the last one. So I think Foster was my best interview so far. I genuinely enjoyed it. It was very conversational. It was so smooth sailing, you know, it was just wonderful. And you learn from every interview that I go through. And what I also did was I ate my brother's brain. I basically made him sat down and asked him to give me take interviews for me every single day. And I did that for, I think, for a month, I believe, like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes every day. And that really helped me. The more you speak, the better you are at it. So yeah, that's how I prepared for the interviews.
Riteeka, how important, first of all, what made you land at Crackverbal in terms of a consultant, I mean, and how important was it to have, working with a consultant, and how was your whole experience working with us?
So I got to know about you through a friend, and also I went, obviously, Google. I checked out reviews from multiple consultants that were available, which were economical as well as gave you the best services they can offer. And you sort of checked all my requirements, and I got in touch with you, and the journey so far has been wonderful. And for people who wonder if they want to get into consulting or not, especially with Crackverbal, it's definitely a must do. I'll tell you why. Sometimes when you do things on your own, you miss out on a lot of things. Like I said, speaking to you, speaking to Sri, having those mock interviews, understanding what other people are also doing. You sort of share the resources, right? It is so important. I cannot emphasize on that enough, you know. It's just so wonderful having mentor like Shreyas, who just sort of, it's not like they're going to do the work for you. It's not like they're going to write essays for you. It's not like you even fill your own applications, but the way that they guide you is phenomenal. And that's, the guidance is the most important thing, right? And it's just the best part. So I think that correct guidance is all you need. You sort of they make sure that you're on the right path, and you're working hard towards a certain point, which is so crucial for where you want to go at the end. So I think that's what I've been thinking so far, that it was a good decision, definitely a good decision.
What made you pick Foster over a Babson or a UC Davis? What was the whole thinking process there?
For me, since the very beginning, like we talked about before, Foster was like the school that I wanted to get in. It was in Seattle. Geographically, also that was the area that I wanted to focus the West Coast, and also the school. It's one of the greatest school when you talk about being in tech world, right? So it has always been that key. If out of these three, I would definitely go to Foster, because that's my choice. Even if I did get into Emory or Kelly, but those were more from a consulting perspective, you know, that was more of a plan B. But Foster has been my plan A since the very beginning. So it sort of made sense. I did not have to choose a lot. I did not have to, thankfully, I didn't have to use my brain cells there a lot. It was like an obvious decision. Okay, Foster it is, and I got a decent scholarship also. So it didn't. So it was not like, you know, I had to think much.
Talking about scholarships, how do people apply for scholarships? How do they get these scholarships?
So all the schools that I apply to, you get your scholarship directly through the application. So the essays that you write, the application that you fill, whatever that you do to apply to that school, they consider you on the basis of that. So for me, in Foster, I got a scholarship from Foster for Day Foundation, which is basically think about it as an organization which help women in business. And these are the ones who gave me the scholarship. And also school also provided me a non-resident scholarship. So basically I would be paying the same fee as someone who's a domestic student, which is brilliant. But I didn't have to do anything else. It was part of the applications that I submitted. There are certain schools where you have to add in specific additional essays, for the scholarship. But I did not encounter those.
So, given that you've just gone through that whole process, like you said, maybe it feels like, it was a long time ago, but it just happened a few months ago. So yeah. What would you tell somebody who's just starting off, like today, just thinking about an MBA today? How should he or she approach?
Okay, yeah. So first and foremost, what the mistake that I did was get rid of your GMAT. Get it done. Close that chapter. Do not drag it. I dragged it way too much, and I regret. Not regret, I couldn't do anything about it, but get it done, get it out of the way so you can completely focus on your applications. The first thing is work hard, get the GMAT done. And then for the applications, I think for me also, it was sort of like an improvement process. The first application, the first essay that I wrote, and if I compare it to the second essay that I wrote, and compare it all the way to Foster, which was the last essay that I wrote, there's a massive difference, and you learn and you slowly understand what works for you, what not. And it's a slow and steady process. So trust yourself, speak to a lot of students, understand what you need, understand. Speaking really does help. Sort of you share that off, you get let go of that self doubt also. That is also important. Have confidence. Get a consultant, especially Crackverbal, that can help you through the process. That's important. But yeah, and you'll be there.
So on that note, thank you so much, Riteeka. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck on what's coming. It's already started, like you said, but good luck on the actual journey. And then I hope you also, good luck for your future and your career as well. Right?
Definitely.
You're a Crackverbal alum, so we will be in touch.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.